Hey guys, welcome to White Glove Trucking, my channel dedicated to helping you use trucking as a vehicle to live your best life. I'm EJ Anderson, the congressional auditor turned long haul truck blogger, and I have got a video for you guys today. So I read this report on the lease purchase programs. This report was done by PHMSA, FMCSA, and the CFPB, Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. And so they looked into these lease purchase programs, and what they found, man, it's just terrible. So number one thing, these programs fail 90% of the time. It was a range, but they can fail up to 90% of the time. That's right. 9 times out of 10, you do not walk away with the truck. So it was so bad that the agencies actually recommended banning lease purchase programs, like across the board, just outright. But we know that probably won't happen, or if it does happen, it's going to be a long ass time. So I wanted to make this checklist of things that you can be on the lookout for if you decide to do one of these lease purchase programs, that you can use as like a little survival checklist, just so you don't end up getting trapped. Let's get into it. Okay, let's take this from the beginning. Here are some of the tricks they use from when you're actually signing up for the program. First thing, they actually make you sign away your personal assets. They will try to slip in a clause that makes you sign away your personal assets, and not just your business assets. Even if you have an LLC, they can take your house, your car, anything else they can get their hands on. So tip number one. So this first tip, do not sign anything that allows them to go after your personal belongings. Okay, the second thing, when you're signing up, they will use these bullying tactics to get you to sign. So they might say, hey, if you don't sign this, you don't have anywhere to go. You don't have a hotel room to sleep in. You don't have a truck to sleep in. And so they try to big boy you to get you to sign. So the tip is, if they're using high pressure tactics, let that be a red flag for you. Next one, beware of no interest leases. Sounds good, right? A lease with no interest? Not so fast. So many of these programs will take your down payment and they'll use it as a finance charge. Even though they're telling you that there's no interest on this, they're using that down payment as interest and not going toward the purchase price of the vehicle. So in the end, you're actually paying way more interest than you even think you are. Okay, now one more thing to think about when you're signing up. There are three big operational costs in trucking. Now, they'll give you information about one of them, but two of them they won't warn you about. So number one is your fuel costs. Now, they'll tell you what your lease payment is going to be, but your number one expense operating that truck is your fuel cost. And these programs, they love to call it variable costs, so they don't even have to tell you how much it is. Now, the second one is the lease payment. Now, this is the one they will tell you about. They have to tell you what your lease payment is going to be. But this is kind of meaningless without the big picture of knowing what your fuel is going to be and what this third one is going to be, which is your maintenance costs. And so for maintenance, these programs will either underestimate it or even misrepresent it during that sign-in process. So this tip, if they don't break down all three of these for you, just assume they might be up to something. Okay, so let's say now you've signed up, now you're on board. Let's look at some tricks they try to do and some tips you can use to handle it. Playing games with your money, common tricks. One trick is the rate will drop after you pick up the load. Another one is they'll do like a little bit of a line haul fuel surcharge switcheroo on you. So the law requires that you get 100% of that fuel surcharge. So that's great, right? But they'll try to play with the numbers. They will lower the fuel surcharge and raise the rate per mile, so that the way they do it, the money stays even, but you get less. Okay, the next one is a maintenance scam. So some of the tricks that the report listed was they'll double charge you for repairs. They will force you to go to their approved shops, which is places where they might overcharge you, or they might just do shoddy repairs. Or They might even charge you for repairs that never even happen. You're thinking, why would they do shoddy repairs? Why would that would hurt them as well as you, right? No. So these programs are incentivized for you to fail. Here's the dirty little secret. They make money when you default. So unlike a regular car loan, where the banks kind of want you to succeed so they can keep getting their payment, so they don't have to come repossess the vehicle, the lease purchase plans are set up to profit when you fail. So the average auto loan default rate is 4.6%. The average default rate on these freaking lease purchase plans are 30 to 90%. Think about that. They set you up to fail because your Mayday is their payday. And how they do this is the carrier and the finance company are in cahoots. With the car loan, the banks lose money when they have to come repossess the vehicle. So they try to work with you. Not a lease purchase plan. When you're struggling, the carrier and the finance company, they team up. The carrier will start cutting your loads so you can't make money. They will refuse to renew your license plate so you can't legally operate. All this is an attempt to force you to voluntarily give up the truck so that they can just give it to the next victim. It's a racket. It's just a racket. So next trick is they can repossess for any old reason. Missed the payment? Repossess. No insurance? Repossess. Don't tell your dispatchers you're going into the bunk? They take your truck. Your credit score drops? They take your truck. They just feel like it for any old reason. They take your truck. And then after they've taken your truck, now they go after your escrow account that you've put money into for maintenance and other operational expenses that you might have had. Their trick is to say it's for unpaid fees or damages to the truck, or they'll just use it to cover the repossession costs after they force you to default. And then the final trick, after they've done all this, is to add insult to injury. They will add a fee, a default fee on top of everything. So the report listed a couple of default fees. One person had to pay $5,000. One person had to pay $11,000. So that's the final trick that they'll try on you at the end of this. So you got to protect yourself. You got to record everything. You can record the calls and conversations. You can get everything in writing, and you have to read the fine print, because once you're in, it's damn near impossible to get out until they default you out. So in summary, you guys, it's just a sinister cycle of these lease purchase programs, man. First, they lure you in with promise of ownership and low entry cost. Next, they load you up with fees, high weekly payments, and hidden charges. Next, they can control your loads. They cut the amount of loads you get to do, try to manipulate the rates. Next, they push you into default, making it impossible for you to stay afloat. And then lastly, they just repossess the truck, give it to the next victim, and just churn the cycle over again. So as a final thought, you guys, you got to know what you're signing up for with these programs. You have to assume that these programs are designed to trap you in, drain all your funds, and then toss you aside. If you still absolutely want to go into one of these programs, you got to do it with your eyes open. Use these tips, know those tricks, so you can protect yourself, because the system isn't broken. It's working exactly as it's designed.